Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk about today is the concept of values and beliefs and attitudes and the relationship of those things to trauma. We all know that traumatic events can happen to many people, right? But it's really about the individual. So what's the difference between individuals? And I would say that a big cause of the experience of something being traumatic in a unique way is largely dependent on how much support is offered, in the pain, in the grief. We all know, or at least most of us know, to offer a child, to kiss their boo-boo better and to give them a hug when they are, distraught and sad. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people who don't know how to give that hug or how to provide that support. So that leaves someone abandoned, particularly a child who's grieving, who's hurting, who's deeply wounded, but nobody notices. I think that's the trauma. That's where the trauma comes in. When nobody cares. And when the emotions, the sadness, the fear are too great for a young child to handle, where they have no capacity and they feel lost. I was thinking about this morning, about myself. And I'm not remembering right now. It'll come back to me. But anyway, I'm pulling back to the idea of values and beliefs. Our beliefs are formed when these things happen. We can take on beliefs that we're worthless. Our feelings don't matter. Nobody cares. I can relate deeply to a lot of those things. I didn't have people around me who cared about my feelings, basically. Regardless of how many times I was shipped back and forth between my mother and father as a toddler, as a young child, because neither of them wanted me. And I remember one time getting dropped off by my father with a box, I think it was of toys, of gifts, perhaps for my birthday, just, unceremoniously dropped off at my mother's. And for my response of just breakdown, just sobbing, I clearly wasn't informed. I was just dropped off. And I recall them just both heading out the door, to talk amongst themselves while I was left there, in despair. And I didn't know what to do with my grief. So I know I didn't receive any comfort. So it got shoved down. I became numb. Anyway, that's where those beliefs come in. And that we're not valuable. And so then we don't value ourselves. This is why we can often end up, in abusive emotionally controlling, psychological control over us. We can become victim to it because we don't know what it means to have value, to be more valuable than to be treated badly, to not be loved, that we're not worthy of love. And I really believe that we can change that together we can change that by talking together, coming alongside of each other, being that support to one another, because we know how this feels. And so that comes to the third thing of attitude. When we feel despair like that as a child or older in our lives, when we still don't have support, in fact, we can be surrounded by people, who don't care about our feelings and who abandon us when we need them. We can take on a very pessimistic attitude. Again, well, no one cares anyway, so why should I? Why should I bother? Nothing good has ever happened to me, so why should I believe something good, that I have any control over my future? I remember sitting on a couch one day in despair. I'd been in depression. My husband had left after we were married 35 years. And, he basically just left. And I was desperate, to find help, to somehow find help. But I didn't know how to reach out. So thank goodness for me for YouTube. At that time, I had a lot of resources, which I had never had in my life before. None of this stuff existed. And I came across positive psychology. And so many things about it just resonated deeply with me. I had watched through a video series that was on YouTube that was a series of Harvard University lectures on positive psychology. And it was very life-changing. And it was all about a shift in attitude. And one of the concepts was optimism. And what caught my imagination was the description of it, that optimism projects a successful outcome or success into the future. And I quite literally could not conceive of a positive future. I felt totally sunk, totally broken, totally worthless. But thankfully, I was at a point where I had done enough work that I sat and thought, the cliche, if money was no object, what would you do? And I just thought, I'd go to university. I'd never really thought about it being any possibility for me to go to university. But then I found out that some of my RSP could be used, to get me started. I don't know, the wheels started rolling. And now, today, it is 5 years later, and I am graduating in 4 months. Who would have thought? I just wouldn't have thought. Anyway, gratitude is another part of positive psychology, the value of gratitude. And I am so grateful for the resources along the way that have given me hope, that have carried me through. And if I can't give you anything else today, I want to just give you hope. Goals start out very, very small. For me, it was just to get out of bed in the morning, even if I was just laying on the couch. That's where I started. And now I'm entering my next phase, and we'll see where we go. Have a great day. Bye-bye.